Let's draw 4 realistic sketchbook portraits with graphite and pen while we chat about 3 new perspectives and mindsets on how to approach mastering your craft using simple methods based on the psychology of the brain. We'll be looking at studies and interesting concepts that I learned from Atomic Habits by James Clear, which you might find helpful in becoming a better artist and psychologically unlocking your artistic potential. For this sketchbook page, I wanted to draw 4 realistic portraits freehand with pencil and pen. For the 3rd realistic portrait, I will be redrawing a reference photo that I used for a portrait 1 year ago in this previous video. And for the 4th portrait, I will be redrawing a portrait from my first ever face drawing challenge video 2 years ago. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to those videos for you in the description. If you ever feel uninspired or that you're not good enough at your art, I find it helpful to look back now and then at your old drawings. Because we are always striving to be better, sometimes we tend to lose sight of where we started and to feel proud of how far we've come. When approaching making a change or improvement in our lives, we tend to set goals for ourselves. At first, the thought of these goals fills us up with passion, and we push ourselves through thick or thin and work super hard. Eventually, though, the strain of trying so hard and our high expectations cause our minds to fill with doubt, and it's easy to become overwhelmed when you think about how much more work is left in front of you just for you to even come close to possibly achieving your goal. This way, your motivation fades, you get discouraged and give up. You get frustrated with yourself for some time, then eventually you come up with another goal which you think is better than your previous one. Then the cycle continues. If this is sounding similar to you in your art journey, I read a concept in Atomic Habits that really helped me to finally approach this differently and grow in my art skills. The concept is to focus not on setting goals, but instead focus on setting systems that will cause you to achieve your goal. Shift your energy from the goal itself to maintaining a system that will eventually lead you to achieving your goals, regardless of when that may be. When this becomes your mentality, your satisfaction depends not solely on achieving your goal, but on also actually doing the actions that will get you there. As James Clear states on page 23 and 24 of Atomic Habits, if you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still succeed? For example, if you were a basketball coach and you ignored your goal to win a championship and focused only on what your team does at practice each day, would you still get results? I think you would. The goal in any sport is to finish with the best score, but it would be ridiculous to spend the whole game staring at the scoreboard. The only way to actually win is to get better each day. In the words of 3-time Super Bowl winner Bill Walsh, the score takes care of itself. How can we apply this to art? Instead of setting a goal for yourself that you are going to improve in your art and get super good by the end of the year compared to now, focus on simply practicing as often as you can. Emphasize the importance of watching a tutorial or simply practicing, even though you might not be seeing results immediately. Just keep showing up. When you find accomplishment from simply telling yourself, I practiced today, I did a great job, regardless of how your artwork turned out, then you will eventually improve. It's inevitable. Something else to note is that the science of growth is that you don't usually see results for longer than you expect. However, this effort you are putting in isn't being wasted, it is simply being stored until it appears at your breakthrough moment. Often, we see successful people and we're like, they had it easy or they were lucky. But what we forget to take into account is all the effort that the person put in before the great breakthrough, which isn't as obvious to outsiders. I go more in depth about this in my previous video, which I will link for you in the description below if you're interested. One of my favorite sayings is, don't be afraid of moving slowly, be afraid of standing still. There's this true story in Atomic Habits that demonstrates the power of small change, which goes like this. The fate of British cycling changed one day in 2003. The organization, which was the governing body for professional cycling in Great Britain, had recently hired Dave Brailsford as its new performance director. At the time, professional cyclists in Great Britain had endured nearly 100 years of mediocrity. Since 1908, British riders had won just a single gold medal at the Olympic Games and had fared even worse in cycling's biggest race, the Tour de France. In 110 years, no British cyclist had ever won the event. In fact, the performance of British riders had been so underwhelming that one of the top bike manufacturers in Europe refused to sell bikes to the team because they were afraid that it would hurt sales if other professionals saw the Brits using their gear. Brailsford had been hired to put British cycling on a new trajectory. What made him different from previous coaches was his relentless commitment to a strategy that he referred to as the aggression of marginal gains, which was the philosophy of searching for a tiny marginal improvement in everything you do. Brailsford said, "The whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together." Brailsford and his coaches began by making small adjustments you might expect from a professional cycling team. They redesigned the bike seats to make them more comfortable and rubbed alcohol on the tires for a better grip. They asked riders to wear electrically heated overshorts to maintain ideal muscle temperature while riding, and used biofeedback sensors to monitor how each athlete responded to a particular workout. The team tested various fabrics in a wind tunnel and had their outdoor riders switch to indoor racing suits, which proved to be lighter and more aerodynamic. But they didn't stop there. Brailsford and his team continued to find 1% improvements in overlooked and unexpected areas. They tested different types of massage gels to see which one led to the fastest muscle recovery. They hired a surgeon to teach each rider the best way to wash the hands to reduce the chances of catching a cold. They determined the type of pillow and mattress that led to the best night's sleep for each rider. They even painted the inside of the team's truck white, which helped them spot little bits of dust that would normally slip by unnoticed but could degrade the performance of the finely tuned bikes. As these and hundreds of other small improvements accumulated, the results came faster than anyone could have imagined. Just 5 years after Brailsford took over, the British cycling team dominated the road and track cycling events at the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, where they won an astounding 60% of the gold medals available. 4 years later, when the Olympic Games came to London, the Brits raised the bar as they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. That same year, Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France. The next year, his teammate Chris Froome won the race, and he would win again in 2015, 2016, and 2017, giving the British team 5 Tour de France victories in 6 years. During the 10-year span from 2007 to 2017, British cyclists won 178 world championships and 66 Olympic or Paralympic gold medals and captured 5 Tour de France victories in what is widely regarded as the most successful run in cycling history. I like this story because it shows how just little bits of consistent improvements over time can make a big difference. This applies to your art as well. As long as you make 1% improvements in different aspects of your artwork, over time it will definitely add up. For me personally, the 1% improvement doesn't have to be that your piece looks better than the last one. An improvement can simply be being more loose in your brushwork, or trying out a new art style or certain technique that you were too scared to try before. Even trying out a completely different art form can expand your skills in an area that you didn't even expect and can apply to your drawings as well. 2 years ago, I started taking pottery classes as a complete beginner, and the lessons that I learned through creating clay pieces helped me become more accepting and resilient with my paintings. The third mindset that I personally find helpful in becoming a better artist is another concept that I read in Atomic Habits, which is how your personal identity has power on ensuring consistency in any areas of your life. There are certain aspects of our lives that we voluntarily do consistently that eventually become a necessity to us. Let me use getting exercise as an example. Imagine that you are someone who finds exercising and working out as second nature. If you miss a workout, you don't feel like yourself. While this is because you literally feel better when you keep in shape, it's also because exercise is a consistent part of your life and in some sense makes you who you are. It's a part of your identity and therefore feels second nature and a necessity to do. Every time you get exercise, you are reinforcing this identity. You are someone who keeps in shape. How can you make creating art a natural necessity to you as well? Interestingly enough, to do this, you actually don't have to change your character at all. Simply change your actions. Draw more. Although it may feel unnatural at the start, every drawing you make acts as a vote to attest to who you are. The more you draw consistently, the more the action of creating art becomes second nature to you and a part of what you do, like getting exercise. At the start, you will have to push yourself, but especially at the start, it's important to keep this in mind. Your actions speak louder than your character. If you keep this up, eventually your art will become an integral part of your identity, and you will find the act of drawing a natural thing for you to do, because it will be reinforcing your new identity as someone who creates art. It's written on page 143 of Atomic Habits that the more you repeat an activity, the more the structure of your brain changes to become efficient at that activity. Hopefully, you'll find these mindsets helpful throughout your art journey like I did. Just to compare, here's the portrait from 1 year ago that I redrew as the third portrait, and here it is redrawn now. Here is the before of the fourth portrait, which was from my first face drawing challenge 2 years ago, and here it is redrawn now. As long as you keep going, it is inevitable that you will improve and eventually master your craft. I believe in you. If anything in this video was helpful and speaks to you, please leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching.